Do you love your current job, or is retirement as fulfilling as you thought it might be? Continuing with our series 7 Steps to 40 again, this video will outline Step 5, Evaluating Employment Options. Let's have a closer look at that now. So far in Step 1, we addressed mindset. In Step 2, we've addressed our health issues. In Step 3, we got the body back in shape. It's a 2-part series of diet and exercise. In Step 4, we looked at making little tweaks to our lifestyle to support this. And now in Step 5, we're going to reevaluate employment options. Again, we want to kind of test some beliefs and our own feelings. We might have been on job for decades, and are kind of afraid to step out and try new things, or maybe we just feel the opportunities aren't out there because of our age. I think we need to test these things. The first few years when I retired, my life was very busy. I was very active. I couldn't figure out how I ever had time to work before. A lot of these activities were just busy, and they weren't very meaningful, and they weren't adding value to my life. They weren't consistent. Sometimes I just felt I was wasting my time. When I was forced back into the workforce due to economic reasons and lack of planning of lifestyle on my part, I was quite excited about the idea of having meaningful activities again, and structure, and working in teams. When you retire without a plan, you might find that a lot more disconcerting than you thought it might be. So I came back and I looked at, I wasn't quite sure what sort of work I want to get back into. I've worked in the mental health and disability field before, so I just started applying for random jobs that weren't too far from me in those areas. And I was hired by a national company, Nimi National, which is the largest community mental health service in Australia. And I was hired as a service manager. And initially it was really good being back into the workforce. And Nimi is nationally based, so a lot of our communication with senior management was through technology and Skype. And so I learned a fair bit about technology. Again, that was a weak point of mine. I didn't really think I was capable of learning, but I found out I actually could learn things. I just didn't have the confidence to give it a go. But in employment, you're forced to do that, so that's what I did. But I became a victim of my own success. My position got bigger and bigger, and before long I was leading large teams across large geographical areas. I've worked with people with severe and persistent mental health, and they got themselves in an array of issues that needed my attention. So I would leave the house at 7 in the morning and come home at 7 in the evening. I'd be on the phone, usually having teams check in with me till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I'd be on call 24/7. This became very stressful on my family and myself, and I just went from one extreme to the other, no activity to too much activity. And so I started applying for other jobs that were probably less demanding, human service management sector, but I started to find out I wasn't as competitive as I once was. I usually have one interview and I got the job, but I wasn't competitive, and I started to get some feedback through back channels and find out it's because of my age. That was now a factor. So I soon discovered that at the age of 55, I wasn't nearly as competitive as I once was. That kind of took me by surprise, but I guess that is a reality. So I really had to reflect on what I wanted to do with employment. I still needed to have an income coming in, but I wanted something a bit less stressful and taxing. But unfortunately, I've applied for some entry-level jobs in human services and building trades, stuff like that. But I just, because of my experience in management, I couldn't get a job in human services until I really looked back farther. And what I did back when I was in my 40s, when I wanted to build my investment business, I went to work in emergency accommodation and disability services, and that's dealing with people with complex needs, dual diagnosis, mental health, autism, often associated with a lot of violence in that area. And these are skills that I had, and I realized that those sort of skills will always be in demand. And so I was competitive at any age in that field. So I made some inquiries with the state government, and they hired me. And so that's what I'm doing now, and that job I did when I was learning to be an investor, because it has very flexible shifts. It is shift work, generous leave entitlement, so there's plenty of time to develop my other interests. And because of the nature of the work, it paid quite well, so it was the equivalent, if not better, than the management role I had before, and I had no staff, or only the people I worked with directly. So there's a lot less stress, and it really got me back. I wouldn't be able to do these 7 steps to 40 without this sort of career change. Going back to the basics of this, freeing me up. And this is the type of work that eventually, as the YouTube takes off more and more, then I will reduce my hours, go part-time, then casual, and the casual. I love working with people with complex needs, so it's something I'll probably want to do for quite a long time, but I can just do that in small doses in my retirement. Of when I probably go back to casual, so if I've got a trip that I want to take or a project to do, then I can just go do that, and when I come back, the work's always there. So that's sort of an ideal situation. So maybe you can apply something like that in your life. Is there something else that you can do to kind of downshift your career? Maybe going sideways, maybe trying something brand new. I would encourage you to apply for jobs anyway, things that you'd be interested. You see an ad that just resonate with you and you want to try, because you find out going through the process, particularly if you haven't done this for a long time, when you're updating your resumes and things like that, it gives you a great deal of confidence that you have all these skills you developed over a lifetime, and whether you never know whether you'll fall into a new career or get a new job, a fresh start. It's scary, I guess, time to learn new things. You get comfortable in jobs, been there for a long time, but that comfort is often working against you, particularly health-wise and intellectually, socially. Getting out and trying new things is really going to add to satisfaction in your life. If you're already retired, again, look at the hobbies you're doing. If you can do part-time work somewhere, or create a small little business that you have control over your time in your hobby, or take an inventory of what you've done in the past and look around there. Just the biggest thing for this longevity bonus that's going to work against us is we're going to burn through our money quicker than we anticipated, and we don't know what future expenses are going to be. Your medical expenses are definitely going to be a lot higher. So if you can make an extra $100, $200 a week, that's going to pay your utility bill, or that can go towards a holiday. That $200 is something that's not coming out of your retirement funds, so your retirement funds are going to go forward. And if you've got that in your account now, and you've got the power of compounding, that $200 today adds up to more money in the future. So the more that you can retain in your retirement funds, the longer it's going to last. So I really encourage you to, from a financial point of view, to find some way to make a few extra dollars. There's a lot of stuff on the net about reducing your expenses, but there's only so much you can reduce. You have life costs, so you can only be Scroogey and reduce your costs so much, but there's no limit to how much money you can make going forward. So I would put more energies into trying to find some ways of getting extra income than look at ways of cutting back costs and lifestyle. And if you are set, financially you're set, and you don't think there's going to be a worry with that, well, even going back to the workforce, it's that social thing, and it's different than playing lawn bowls or something. There is some expectation you're going to show up. I'm not talking about going back and punching the clock for another 20 years in a career that you did before. I wouldn't even recommend full-time work, but definitely some part-time, something to top up your funds and to get a bit of social interaction and keep you mentally stimulated. It would be great to start a small business around your hobbies, or something you're really passionate about, or maybe a career that you passed on before. Maybe you were an accountant, not because you wanted to be an accountant, because life just took you that way. But what you really wanted to do was be a sign writer, and so start sign writing. And again, if you don't know how these skills are, YouTube's like the university or apprenticeship of YouTube. You can learn just about anything off of these videos. So I strongly encourage you to try something like that. So evaluate, your employment status, whether you're retired or you're working. Prepare yourself for retirement. And it's really good if you can find some jobs that you can carry on into retirement on a casual or part-time basis. Some careers that doesn't suit. It's either full-time or nothing. But industry worldwide is changing with robotics and everything else. So little cottage industries and little hobby things will probably be the way to go. But in the end, this is all your choice. This is just food for thought. If you feel you're too old, or you don't have the energy, or you just don't want to do it, you're just going to do your time and retire, well, that's absolutely fine. I just want to let you know that you have choices, you have options. Don't believe what society's telling you, that your time's over and you're finished. I mean, the definition of retired is to leave the field, to disappear. It doesn't have to be that. These will really be the best years of your life, and just tweaking little changes, little things. Like I said, you don't have to go full-time job. A few $100s a week will make the difference between you put that in your holiday fund, or you upgrade something in your life that isn't coming out of your retirement funds. And that social interaction and feeling more and hanging out with younger, more positive people. If you're only going to hang out with retirees, the backwards focusing, you're not looking to the future. Get yourself around some younger people who are doing things. They got plans. They got to do other things in the future besides the annual holiday. They got goals in their life. And that kind of leads us to our next video. Will be goal setting. It's just crucial in your retirement years to have a plan and to have some goals to strive for. That'll definitely improve your years spent with your longevity bonus. I hope you found that a bit stimulating and some food for thought. Again, all this is your choice. These are the things that I'm doing, and I can feel them working in my life. I feel great. I feel like I did, if not better than I did when I was 40, because at 40 I had far less life experience to put things into context and to realize how good this really is. You kind of got to go into that dark tunnel and come out the other side to realize that the world's a wonderful place and there's all kinds of opportunities. And the things that society tells us, the things that our own mind tells us, are not necessarily true. In fact, I don't think they are true. We make up our own story. And you got to remember, our brain wants to protect us, and the best way to protect us is not to change anything. We're breathing, we're living right now, so let's not change anything. That's what the brain's saying. If you do anything different, that could change. But my experience is, every time I've put change in my life, it's been a positive change. I made some mistakes, but overall, even the mistakes added texture to my life. So I really encourage you to try something new. Look at doing something in the employment sector, because much of our identity is tied around what we do for our activity and employment. And lawn bowls, there's going to be plenty of time for that. You can do a bit of it now, and there's time in the future. But if you still want to be involved in a bit of the workforce, I think that's a good idea. Found that stimulating, or kind of ignited your own thinking, so give me a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel and you want to learn more about ways to enrich your retirement years or to prepare for your retirement years, I would encourage you to become a subscriber. At the bottom of this video there'll be a watermark for subscribe. Just hover over that till the subscribe button pops up, and then you hit that and you'll be a subscriber. If you want to make sure that you're notified as soon as I release new videos, I would encourage you to hit the notification bell. And most importantly, share this with everyone you know over 50, someone that you want to give the gift to a more healthier, happier, and fulfilling retirement. So until next time, this is Rick Ward, your guide to the retirement stages, wishing you an extraordinary retirement.
This is like a cocoon.
What comes out of a cocoon?
Butterflies.
Are butterflies beautiful?
Yeah.